Hey there, hi there, ho there, how's it going? Hey, it's me again. It's me again. Is he back? Ah, crap. Hello, everybody. This is RHJunior, RHJunior Reality Check coming to you live over the internet through the series of tubes known as the web, bringing you his barely live broadcast from behind the lines of Ohio. A little program we like to call Spleen Squeezins. I need an opening credit or something. I have no idea which image file has my company header in it. Need to fix that. I think I'll take a minute and fix that. Yeah. Come on, open. One of these files. One, two, three, four. A lot of these images, I think, are repeats. And I need to do a lot of crap. Haha! I found it. Let's see here. Slideshow D. Okay. Slideshow D. Remember that. Remember that. It's important. Slideshow D. Cancel. Come on. I'm trying to. I have no idea. Okay. Okay. And I'm looking for my file. Documents. AAA slideshow. Slideshow D. And there we go. Open. There we go. Okay, now I have really loud music playing in my ear. There we go. That's much better. And now I have an official header. Yay! It's like watching the show form. It's like watching bean sprouts grow in your grade school science class. Okay, now we wet the tissue and then we put it inside the plastic baggie and we put the bean right next to it like this. Like this, just like this. Yay! And we come back a week later and it has little leaves. Eee! You know. You remember that excitement? I sure do. Boy, howdy. Riveting, you know. And I'm trying to get this perfectly centered, and it's not perfect. It's not cooperating. It's not cooperating. Meet me. Well, that's close enough. You can read it at least. Spleen squeezins. Because I'm a bilious sort of personality. As it was originally called, I was originally going to call it brain juice, but that comes with the premise that I'm actually an intellectual. No way, not even close, not even close, George, not even close. All right, now we go to this. And now we get the classic slideshow of animated and unanimated images. Okay. Let's see. Where are we? Okay. I'm closing down a couple of windows here. Yeah, icky gut. Okay. Let's see, got a whole audience of one currently. So I'm going to sit here waiting for you. Because I love you. I love you all. You're my very best friends. So won't we without you? Man. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. I'm going to avoid talking about any of the news. Hello, Mr. Cartoon Critic. Well, actually, the counter seems to be working correctly. Now it says one person in. We got one person in. How exciting. How's it measuring me? I don't know. I thought it was measuring me. I don't know. You saw the thing in the news. Some lift bridge judge proclaimed that the president has to give what's-his-face his press pass back. Excuse me? Excuse me? I was unaware that anybody but the president decided who got to interview the president. He was publicly seen acting he behaved in a poor manner, acted like a petulant child, actually squabbled with an intern for the microphone, and finally Trump said, "Okay, you're out of here." I'm sorry if the president can't maintain a little control, at least a little control over the press room. What they're mad about is that he can't just stand there asking gotcha questions. He might have to actually go out and do his job instead of just stand there flinging backhanded accusations at the president. Where was this high and mighty judge when the likes of Obama and Clinton were shutting out conservative reporters and news agencies entirely? They couldn't give a rat's behind back then. But one of their own starts acting like a trained monkey in public, and they're out there defending him, with life or limb. Give me a break. Oh my! They had now I was under the mistaken impression that the White House decided who got to go into the White House, not some podunk judge. And another thing in there, I was reading an article. The big box stores are doing what they have to cut their taxes. One of the things they are apparently doing, the big box stores, like Walmart and Target and these other stores like that, is that there's apparently there's a loophole in the taxes, in property taxes, that due to circumstances they can get their taxes lowered to the same level as empty stores, shut down stores in the same community. If there's another if they're in a community and there's another big box store there, but that has been shut down, like a shut down Walmart or a shut down mall. Apparently, this loophole exists in the tax laws in most every state, that they can get their tax level lowered on their operating property to the level of the that the property owners are paying on the shuttered store, just down the street. Now, some people say, "Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair." And I'm inclined to say, one, a corporation's job isn't to be a tit for you to suck on. All right. A corporation's job is to reduce its costs, maximize its profit. That's all a corporation is about. Making sure that its shareholders enjoy a tidy profit margin. Making sure the business stays in business, making sure it doesn't go bankrupt, trying to do the same. And like any of us would do, I do not blame these corporations for looking for every tax loophole they can find. Corporate taxes in the United States are the highest in the Western world. That's ridiculous. We wonder why I don't understand how these people think. There's this guy who wrote this column. He's interviewing quote unquote conservative statesman. He's going on a crusade in his own community, trying to keep these corporations from getting their tax burden lowered. Because if they lower their taxes, we may have to reduce services in the government. My butt, they do. Look, these big box companies, they came in with their product. They're like any other business. The fact that they're big does not automatically make them evil. But wherever they go, these companies come in. They bring jobs. They bring industry. They bring customer service. They bring produce and products to people who can't get them otherwise at affordable prices. That's what they really hate about it. But these companies come in and they're treated like crap by everybody. But the city hall sees them, and the first thing they think is, "Wee! Suey! Wee!" And they line up for they figure there's going to be a big old trough full of tax dollars for them and for City Hall to snorkel its way through. Suey! Wee! 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 And guess what? They found out that maybe the corporation is, maybe the people running Walmart and Target and all these other big box stores aren't interested in seeing City Hall suckle up all their money. God forbid they should try and protect their profits. They want these big companies to come in, provide 1 billion jobs, and pay all the taxes, and do it all for free. They expect, they see nothing. They see these companies as nothing but a big row of nipples for them to latch onto. And then these companies fight back and do everything in their power to be treated like a law-abiding business, and to keep their tax burden sane. And they're treated like the enemy. They try and set up a business. They're treated like an enemy because you're doing the small businesses. You're doing the small family businesses out of hearth and home. And no, they're not. Here, let me spell it out to you. I see these stickers say "Buy American," or these people that get more granola crunchy and say, shop at your local stores. Look, I don't go out to shop at my local stores. I go out to buy food. I go out to buy stuff cheap that I can afford with what little money I have. And if mom and pop don't have anything that I can afford, they can just go rowing up that world-famous creek and get stuck for all I care. I don't shop to support my community. I shop to support myself. To keep myself fed, clothed, and sheltered. And let's not kid ourselves. Those businesses aren't there to support the community. They're there to support themselves. The mom and pop stores are interested in making as much money as possible for mom and pop. They're no more noble and magnanimous than any other business model. Now, I'm tired of these people. They stand around. They say you're not paying enough taxes. You're not paying enough taxes. You're not towing the line on enough regulations. You're not giving out enough free goodies with every job. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And why are you moving away? Why are you moving away? Why are you going to these other countries? Gee, take a frickin' guess. They say they want to bring business to their communities, and then they do everything in their power to run it off again. They don't want businesses. They want a tit to suck on. And as long as the people at City Hall are fat and happy, they don't care. Oh, business is doing great, and meanwhile we're all paying $5 a pound for a hamburger. No, no. We're paying ridiculous prices for chump products, and because they've run off all the other business. No, just. Sometimes you just get so tired of living in a world where everybody seems to be determined to keep doing the wrong thing as enthusiastically as they possibly can. They don't care that they're ruining your life. They don't care that they're ruining your family's life, or that they're causing all sorts of problems for everybody else. They don't care. It's so tiring. It really is. Now, what is to be said? What is to be said? Now, really don't know what they're thinking. Okay, now the counter is really not working right. I got 2 people in channel, and it says I've only got 1 watching. That's cute. That counter thing is a piece of crap. I don't think I'm going to be on very long. It's late night, and I'm feeling a little run down. But for a little while. Oh my. Let's see, Stan Lee passed away. Also, the author of the book, The Princess Bride, passed away. He is also the director of a couple of different movies, but he wrote the book, he didn't direct the movie. Oh, a little chilled. It's getting harder and harder to keep this place warm. I've got 3 electric heaters. One is it's supposed to be a garage electric heater. That's why I got it's a 220 electric heater, and it barely keeps one corner of this living room warm. If I turn it up, a common feature of all my electric heaters, if I turn them up full blast, they conk out. They'll run, then boom. Then they'll shut off until the room gets ice cold again. Then they'll turn back on. Boo. Got this heater here. It's supposed to be built for heating huge, empty steel and concrete rooms, but it barely putters along. It's making me mad. Can't rely on nothing. Now, now I'm trying to think, and thinking's not happening. Of course, not too much thinking going on around the world around me, is there? I'm spending a lot of time thinking coulda, woulda, shoulda. Of course, the thing of it is that you think I should have done this, I should have done that, but the more I think about it, the more I think, okay, that wouldn't have worked because, and fixing that wouldn't have worked either because, this thing over here, that thing over there, and I'd really rather not come to the conclusion that I was funneled into my less than enviable current position by circumstances. It does bear the question, though. I mean, at what level can we blame circumstances for our situation, and how much do we blame ourselves realistically? So we could talk all we want about, how about you set your own destiny, so on and so forth. And yet at the same time, we know for a fact that well, you get the idea that we know for a fact that it's anything but that easy. People for instance, I often lament the fact that I didn't stand my ground and go ahead and buy that little trailer like I wanted instead of this big, this mobile home here. This mobile home is anything but mobile. Little trailer, I could have hooked it up to the back of my van, parked it, lived anywhere I wanted. Of course, if I'd have done that, circumstances more than likely would have led me into dire straits because of my physical condition with my legs. The lymphedema setting in, and my legs swelling up is so bad that now I'm basically a shut-in. And I can imagine the catastrophe that would have been if if I had actually managed to follow through with that plan for moving out onto that little spit of property. Well, and then you go back. If I had attended this college or this school or that school, if I had taken this different course, if I had been more assertive, if I had if I had gotten if I had gotten a job when I was younger, if I'd if I'd done this, that, or the other, then you realize, and you try, then I think through the plan, and I realize, there were other things that cropped up in life that happened as well. My physical condition being one of them uh, that would have derailed those plans just as thoroughly, if not more so. Mm. Now, I lost my train of thought. Really, I just forgot what I was going to move on to next. It's disturbingly standard with me. Mm. Mm. Get in your potato. Mm. Harder and harder to focus. Like I said, it's not going to be a very long night, but I'll stick around for a while. Oh, I have not looked at Netflix. I really haven't. It's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the money, and it's not worth the effort. They almost never have what I want. And it's worse than it was in Blockbuster. What gets me is they've got a library of literally millions of movies, and they only let you access a few hundred of them, if that. More like a few dozen. If you want access to the uh, to oh, I lost my train of thought again. Doggone it! I'm just getting pooped out, tired. Now, I look through my stores. I've got a whole bucket. I literally a sealed bucket full of flour. I bought that ages ago. The problem is I bought it literally years ago. It's no good. Even sealed up in a airtight drum, it eventually goes stale. And it's bumming me out that I'm going to have to throw it away. Now, what have y'all got on your minds? What have y'all got on your minds? What would you like to ask? What would you like to know? What would you like to say? So I'm trying to get the ball rolling, trying to keep the blood flowing, keep the story, the conversation going, and the you know. Here's an idea for you. I posted this on Facebook. For any of you who are fantasy writers, here's an idea for you. Dragons that instead of breathing fire, they breathe fire extinguisher. Like a CO2, like a CO2 fire extinguisher. You got to figure. Think about it. Would you want an ecosystem with large, unintelligent animals capable of setting things on fire at a whim? You wouldn't have that magical forest for very long. Picture, something about the size of a dog or a cat that tend to congregate in forests and wilderness around areas where a lot of dragons are. And their habit of putting out extinguishing any flame would make things very interesting for well, hmm. No. Uh, got a lot of thoughts across my mind, but I need to start keeping a notepad by my bed because I have some unusual ideas that pop into my head. Never quite get them down anywhere by the time I'm up and around and at work and and I lost my train of thought again. Now, okay. What movie? What movies and plays are you looking forward to, if any? That's one of the things. You say you reptilian lizard. Your lizard people ride horses instead of giant lizards. That's frankly that makes sense. There was an article I read. It covered some of the aspects of domestication and the necessities of domestication. Uh, there's something like 4 or 5 different requirements for a species to be domesticated. One, and this is very important, they have to have some. They have to have some sort of family hierarchy. You see, this is why horses can be domesticated and zebras can't. Horses, they have a hierarchy. You know, the lead stallion, the lead mare, and the lesser mares, and the foals following along behind. Dogs, they have the male and female wolf. They're family. The male and female wolf, their children, and the brothers and sisters. But zebras do not. It's every zebra for himself. You know, once you become an adult zebra, they'll run in a herd, but there is no lead zebra. There is no lead stallion zebra. There is no lead mare. It's every zebra for himself. which makes it very difficult. With horses, if you capture the stallion, the others will tend to follow along behind, which makes it much easier to domesticate them. Two, they have to be easy. It has to be fairly easy to keep them captive. The reason you don't see Aborigines riding around on kangaroos is because the buggers can jump right over fences. The reason Native Americans didn't domesticate the deer. You'd think a deer, very, fairly easy, but those buggers can jump, and they are very difficult to keep penned in. Cows, on the other hand, not so difficult. Buffalo can, you got the shy little slender deer who can jump over everything. You got the buffalo who can trample anything. So they're not going to be fenced in very easily. And the third requirement, the third of five that really easily comes to mind is their diet. You do not want a riding animal that could look at you as a snack. So all those stories about people riding giant lizards across the desert, or people domesticating dragons, not a very good idea. It wouldn't work out very well at all. There's a reason that chickens domesticated fairly easy while ostriches didn't, because an ostrich could kick the absolute crap out of you. If a species of animal doesn't meet those requirements, easy to feed, easy to pen in, and easy to relate with to have a dominance over, you're not going to get anywhere. This is why this is part of the reason that the African tribes and the Native American tribes of they just didn't have an animal that was suitable for domestication like that. When horses were, it was Europeans who brought horses to the Western world, and once they arrived, the Native Americans, ducked to water, But without large, easily domesticated animals to do things like haul things long distance, do heavy labor, pull a plow, carry a rider, civilized progress was going to be a lot more difficult. What I understand, camels are a really poor substitute for a good horse for some of those reasons. One of the things I'm going to do for sure once I get somebody who can do some grocery running for me is I'm going to secure some beverages. Nice big supply of them. I've got a supply of let's see, I've got some tea, but I got no sugar. Drinking plain tea, just You know, only goes so far. It's not exactly refreshing. My drinks have got to, I got a drink that's got to be sweet. I can't drink, just plain bitter old tea. Well, I could, but I wouldn't enjoy it in the least. I've got a couple of boxes of tea. I've got Kool-Aid packets all over the place. I've got a whole drawer full of Kool-Aid packets, but no sugar. Have you ever tried? My mom, once in a blue moon, she'd try. When I was a kid, we'd be out of sugar. She'd try using brown sugar, or she'd try using honey. Just terrible. I got several. I've got 2 or 3 6-packs of V8, which is kind of a salty drink. So again, not very refreshing, and also due to a mistake on my shopper's part, she got the low sodium V8. What they do is they take the salt out. They take the sodium chloride out and substitute potassium chloride, which is great if you've got a real potassium deficiency. But it tastes so bitter. It's just a horrible bitter aftertaste. I try and force myself to drink a can once in a while. To get the vitamins and the veggie. Your one serving of veggie from that can. Oh yeah, being able to reproduce quickly. That's another one. Elephants, for example, 1 baby a year, if that. In fact, it can be up to 2 years, if I'm remembering correctly. That's another reason. That's another reason all those stories about aliens. It's a cookbook to serve man. Oh, the idea of aliens traveling halfway across the galaxy to eat people. Okay, they would have been better off just stealing the cows. You take a cow. In 1 year, it goes from in 1 year, a cow can hit about a half a ton. A human being hits about 200 pounds after 20 years. A cow, you can feed it grass, you can feed it oats, dirt cheap. Human takes all sorts of complicated foodstuffs to fatten up, to get up to size. Cows, they just stand there and moo. Humans tend to start revolutions. So, to serve man, dumbest thing in the world. All that way, they would have been better off just stealing the cows. They would have been better off stealing the giraffes, for that matter. Humans are terrible food. Humans would be terrible food animals. We reproduce slowly. It takes us 20 years to reach full maturity, and even then, we're only about 100 pounds weight, a couple 100 pounds weight. I don't know what a giraffe would taste like. Tastes like chicken. If all else fails, it tastes like chicken. Well, they've been experimenting with domesticating ostriches. Get a drumstick the size of a whole turkey, man. But they say that the ostrich meat tastes like ham. Go figure. I'm picturing all these animals gathering around, passing notes. Okay, you do not want to taste like this. Ouch. Got that broken tooth in my mouth, jabbing my corner, my side of my tongue and my cheek. Yeah. The Australians must be laughing their backsides off at that one, selling kangaroo meat. Well, they laugh their butts off selling us Foster's beer. I thought the commercials were funny. It's Australian for beer. You see the commercials. You see this 4x4, this truck sitting out in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden it takes off with spinning wheels, and his tow rope snaps taut behind it. It says. Then the caption reads, "Dentist." How to speak Australian. How to speak Australian. You hear this whistling noise, boom, and the camera pans over and you see his huge boulder with a couple of boots sticking out from under it, and you hear this Australian voice, "Ow, cry baby." Foster's, it's Australian for beer. Now, and they do not drink Foster's in Australia. Apparently, considered a crap beer. I'll have to agree with that. The one time I tried an alcoholic, the one time I deliberately tried beer, I went to the store. I went to the grocery store. I just wondered. I wanted to know what beer tasted like. I went and I bought a can of beer. It was a tall boy. It was a tall boy of Foster's. Yeah, and I took it home feeling all rebellious and everything. I was living on my own. I was nearly in my 30s by that point. I sat down, I cracked it open, and I took a sip. It was the most horrible thing. I am not exaggerating here. I am not exaggerating here. Keep this in mind. I am understating. It was the most horrible thing I had ever put in my mouth in my life. It was the most horrible tasting thing I had ever put in my mouth. I mean, it was horrible. It was so horrible that I literally could not bring myself to spit it out, because it would have to go past my tongue and lips again. Have you ever put something in your mouth? You literally couldn't go. You literally sat there and went, and I got up and I ran to the bathroom and I just, leaned over the toilet and just sort of let it fall out of my mouth. And I just poured the rest of it out, man. I've never tasted anything like that, and I never want to taste anything like that ever again. I'm like, good Lord, what do these Australians drink that they... What are these Australians doing? No. Just, I came to a conclusion long ago. If you have to make yourself learn to tolerate something, then maybe you shouldn't be eating or drinking it in the first place. Try some coffee. It's delicious. And you just. I remember seeing this commercial. Is remember your first cup of coffee? Quick flashback from the guy to a little bitty kid that looks like him going. And then, a montage of him getting older and older, going through the military, looking at the coffee, going, and I said, did it get better, or did you just get used to it? And I'm like, that's a very good question for coffee in general. Never understood that. Not so sure I understand. Now, I can drink coffee now, as long as I dump like about half of its cream and throw in about a cup of sugar. I can drink and mocha. I can do the mocha thing just barely. But given a choice, I'll go. Just give me the regular hot cocoa. Thank you. Just give me the hot cocoa. Don't mess with the coffee. Don't just put the coffee bean down. Give me the cocoa. You can barely taste the alcohol. The selling point is that you cannot taste the main ingredient. Okay, why put the alcohol in the first place in that case? That's my question. They add all these other ingredients and then they add the alcohol and you're like, you almost had something there. I tried a Shirley Temple once. The non-alcoholic drink. It was supposed to be made. It was made for Shirley Temple, back when she was an actress and little girl actress, and so she could have something to drink while the other grown-ups were drinking, and she hated them. Coincidentally, she hated it. They're too sweet. She said it was syrupy, and I had to agree. It was right. It was like drinking cherry syrup. It was way too sweet. No. Makes you wonder about. Now, look, there's no way on earth that durian comes from anywhere but from a starving country. Or surströmming. That had to come from a famine. Lutefisk and surströmming and durian fruit and all these other things. Just they'd be declared weapons of war at another time, at another point in history. You literally cannot bring. From what I understand, you cannot bring surströmming and you can't bring durian on board an airplane, as the stink is so bad. It could literally cause a hazard, an air hazard, if the fumes Good night, alive. I've been having so much trouble sleeping lately, and I've been seriously debating just cocooning up for 2 or 3 days. The only reason I don't is because I go bug nuts after a while. Just trying to sleep when you weren't tired. You know, just to have a few days to have my feet propped up, let my legs swelling go down, and try and catch up on my sleep, and all that. You know, just hurts sometimes. You go to bed hurting, you wake up hurting. And the only difference is that the places that you're hurting change. That's life. That's my life. Oh my. Now, I've never had mead, and probably never will. Well, I really wish I knew what it was that is giving uh, these SJWs. What is giving them so much traction? How they are able to take over so much. Excuse me. It just poses a conundrum to me. How is it that these major corporations are knuckling under by the score to these shrill, annoying people who aren't even part of their target audience? How is it they have so much control? How is it that they can get away with so much? I wish I knew. I wish I had a clue what was, you know, these businesses are going out here. They're basically committing suicide by doing everything that these people want. Horses is an age of madness. This is an age of madness. If you told somebody 10 years ago, 10, 20 years ago, that a literal army of people from Central America would be massing on our south border, demanding entrance, and half of our politicians would be out there standing there saying we should let them in through the front door and just give them a free pass. Just give them, just let them in and give them the vote. If I told you, if 20 years ago we told you that we were going to be invaded by thousands every day, that we don't see on television all the time, little armies pouring over our southern border like it was made of Swiss cheese, and that our politicians would be laboring to smooth the way for these criminals to keep committing their crimes against us. If I told you if I told you 20 years ago that there would be politicians insisting that illegal aliens, that criminal invaders, be given the right to vote in our elections, I would have thought I would have thought you were huffing something, Anybody that told me that 20 years ago, anybody that, if I'd have told you that 20 years ago, you would have thought I was huffing something. You thought, if anybody had claimed that this was going to be what we were going to be dealing with in 2018, 18 years into the 21st century, that we would be dealing with this deranged lunacy, that, we never would have believed it. Nobody would have believed it. I wouldn't have believed it. You wouldn't have believed it. 20 years ago, we told you that Europe would be just dropping its borders and dropping trowel for a little invasion of Muslims, even as Muslim terrorists are ripping the countries of the world up one side and down the other. We would call it insanity. We call it a delusion. We called it hallucination. this is our day-to-day reality. But I told you if I told you 40 years ago that that China, which has air so nasty that you can cut it out with a fork, would be around there shaking its finger at America about what awful polluters we are, and everybody would be taking it seriously. Crazy. Never would have believed it. Now, that's less than 0.04%. 0.04% of all the plastic in the oceans comes from the United States. Most of it comes from three main countries, one of them being China. With it being about equally divided between them and the next two worst. No. America, it has been against the law to dump waste into rivers for about 20 or 30 years now. It is not our plastic straws or our waste that is causing all these poor animals all the misery. You see, Flipper out there with a beer cozy stuck over his face, flapping around. That wasn't our fault. That was China. That was the third world. That was not us. But we're the whipping post for the entire world. We're the whipping boy for the entire world. We take the punishment for the sins that everybody else commits. The holy Ganges River in India is so filthy and nasty, it would be a Superfund site in the United States. But we're the polluters. Yeah. What you're saying is the comic book and cartoon industry, they do not listen to their fans anymore. It wasn't the fans that wanted to get rid of Mary Jane, that wanted to undo Peter Parker's marriage. It wasn't the fans who wanted to make the Hulk, it wasn't the fans who wanted to make Thor a woman. It wasn't the fans who wanted to keep introducing more and more gay characters. It was a bunch of these loud, noisy, whiny, entitled, feminist bitches and the social activist boyfriends, and sitting in in their little enclaves with their hair in buns and glitter in their beards. And no testosterone in their testicles. there's been lunacy like this in the past, not to this degree in some time. That's the downside of the internet age. All the loonies can network. The good people can network, but so can the bad people, and the loonies are ahead of both groups. But back in the 70s, you ever watch the old Super Friends cartoons? For a stretch in the 70s, everybody was so fretful. The violence on TV will make our children violent. And so even Superman was not allowed to punch the bad guys. They had to do, some absolutely ridiculous contriving so that the superheroes could beat the villains of the day without actually throwing a punch. And of interesting note is that there's a book to pick up. It's a book called Fighting Monsters. It's about the role of violence and aggression in children's play, and its importance. It's called Killing Monsters, if I'm remembering the name correctly. Killing Monsters, yes, that's it. Well, anyway, and in this he notes that about every 10 to 20 years you'd see one of these upsurges of fretting about violence in children's entertainment. And they would make the children's entertainment, very pacifist and nonviolent and very soft and mealy and he said, without fail, it's interesting that this upswing in pacifist children's entertainment was soon followed by an upswing in violent behavior among the young. He said his argument is that it reflected a point in society where we were having trouble coping with the concept of violence and how to teach our children about it. And the problem was we were at a point where, when we were doing things like this, we were confusing make-believe violence with real violence. Reacting to toy guns the same as if they were real guns. Reacting to play aggression as if it was actual fighting. And this only confused the children further. It also forced the children, especially the young males, to suppress their any aggressive feelings and denied them any outlet. He pointed out our role as adults is to teach our children the difference between real and make-believe. When we treat play violence and make-believe stories about violence as if they were real, we are only increasing the pain, the stress and difficulty on the child. Oh yeah. Here's another thing for you. Many of the behaviors that we associate with young people, with aggressive teenagers and such. He did the studies. He did check the numbers. It's not the case. We started, it started in the '60s with the hippie movement. Back when our parents and grandparents were all teenagers. The boomer generation. Basically, the stats for violence, violent crime, assault, battery, murder. They tended to follow the boomers. But we forgot all about that after they stopped being teenagers. We didn't come to associate violent, out of control behavior with the boomers. We came to associate it with young people. Even when the rate of violent and criminal behavior among the young was dropping. The purpose of play is to give a context for a child to understand the real world. You take that away, you take one of the coping mechanisms away, and you only hurt them. It's the old the Jedi fallacy, You should be at peace and passive. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hatred leads to suffering. The Jedi fear of expressing your emotions. Feeling fear or anger will lead to the dark side. Somebody should have taken that little green Muppet and punted him through the nearest door. Boom. And it's a long line drive. It's up, it's good, go! I'll be honest, I don't think I'm gonna get anything done today. I am tired. I'm sputtering out, frankly. Excuse me. Now, apparently the Mexicans aren't too happy. They just held an anti-immigration protest in Tijuana against the Central American caravan. They're all racists. They're all Mexican racists. But no, they can't be racist. Oh, they suddenly all turned white. That'll cover it. See, because non-white people can't be racist, so therefore all the Mexicans in Mexico and Tijuana suddenly spontaneously turned white. the music goes kaput. I think one of the things I'm going to do come the end of this month, I think most of my grocery budget is going to go into ordering stuff through, or ordering absolutely everything I can through Amazon.com. Because even though the damn grocery store is only a couple of miles from me, it might as well be on the far side of the frickin' moon. So, got my sign up in the window, help wanted. Call this number. No bites yet. Yeah. Oh, apparently, look, I'll say this much. Okay, Elon Musk. I don't think that he's going to get anywhere with the Tesla car. Ever. The technology, it's just not there. The physics is just not there. It's a matter of fuel density. Basically, you cannot make a battery that is more energy dense than a equivalent tank of gas. That's what makes cars as efficient as they are, and they're terribly inefficient. But you know, the Tesla is just not going to cut it because you know, the batteries, you can't make them dense enough energy-wise and still keep them safe. You can't. They're made of materials that are highly toxic and that cause all sorts of pollution to mine. The vehicles themselves are just ridiculously expensive to make compared to an internal combustion engine. It's just not going to happen. You know, he's welcome to keep trying. Maybe he'll find some miracle phlebotinum that will let them make perfect batteries. You know, that will let them accomplish this. It's still just shuffling decks on the lawn chairs, on the Titanic, and it's really not going to help. But his space program, on the other hand, he's kicking over an anthill. He's changing things dramatically. And right now it says here the FCC just approved a new plan. He's going to launch. He's going to use SpaceX to launch 7,500 broadband internet satellites. That alone will change so much. Most of these mega corporations that are being bottlenecks on the internet are suddenly going to find themselves on the cut off from the off ramp. They think they're the king of the hill. What are they going to do when people can just point a satellite dish straight up and get all the internet they want? They're going to throw a hissy. Elon Musk is basically everything that Steve Jobs was advertised to be. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. Yeah. Yeah, there's been a nuclear-powered car. There's been a solar-powered car. There has been a car designed with a Stirling engine, but they are not out on the road en masse for obvious reasons. Really, though, I think they're overthinking. I think they could take the radioactive material, make a radium battery large enough to run the car, just stick it in the car and let it run forever. No, they're not going to do that. The idea of the average driver hurtling around at 100 miles an hour down the freeways with a chunk of radioactive material under the hood, that would give even the most libertarian lunatic pause, shall we say. No. Just, Now that's the thing, that last meme that went by, that about global climate change. They have convinced themselves, climate, global warming true believers have convinced themselves that they are the rationalists and we are the equivalent of the anti-vaxxer movement. How do you even address somebody that smugly certain without any proof of their own superiority? We're forced to share the we're trapped. It's like we're trapped in a spaceship. We're trapped in a spaceship with one set of controls, a console full of switches and buttons and levers, and one one joystick, but we are forced to share the controls with a demented lunatic. Bark at the moon crazy, but it doesn't matter. We're supposed to treat their input on how the ship is supposed to be steered as being as serious and sober as our own. And we're supposed to try and engage them in debate when they are so far beyond the realm of debate as to be untouchable by it. You can't logic a crazy person back into normal. You can't. As one man put it, you can't get a person out of a situation with logic, reason, and common sense if they did not use any of those things to get where they are. You can't get them out with the tools that they didn't use to get themselves in. No amount of sane discussion can cure crazy. And we are forced to share the wheel, share the helm with people who are just flat out crazy. And that's even more insane than they are. That there is an entire system set up to demand that crazy people be given the same access to the helm as sane people. The madness, the lunacy that the Democrat Party has been getting up to for who knows how long shouldn't even be a concern. They should not even be near the steering wheel. But no, they've been voted up, and now they're sitting in everybody's lap in the driver's seat, wrestling with everybody for the steering wheel. Determined to drive us over into oncoming traffic. This is what made America form in the first place. All the sane people got together and said, we can't deal with these crazy people. We got on a boat and we sailed over here. The idea being, we can't do anything with them. We can't change their minds. We can't change their course. We might as well leave them be. Let the baby have his bottle. We're going to go over here and mind our own business. But crazy doesn't like that. Crazy never does. So long as a single sane person is walking the face of the earth, crazy is not happy. Even if crazy managed to get rid of all the sane people, it wouldn't be happy. But they're definitely unhappy so long as there is a free, logical, working mind roaming loose in the world someplace. So we came on, we all came over here, set up the colonies, and by God, if they didn't come after us, they come over here and started a damn war. Couldn't treat us fairly even by their own rules. So he said, we had enough, get out. And it took us a couple of years. We finally threw them out of the country. And they decided that wasn't good enough. They come back in 1812 and started making crap happen again. We had to start all over again. We had to beat them again. Men in our society are constantly persecuted, accused of everything under the sun, being responsible for everything wrong with society, and at the same time somehow being responsible to repair everything in society, even though we're told we're not supposed to touch anything. Men get tired. Men got tired of being raked over the coals through dating, through marriage, through divorce, and through every other shenanigan that women put them through. And men said, "Fine, screw it." And they went off. Men went off on their own. Said, "Fine, we'll just leave you be. You have all your toys over there. We're just going to go over here, live in our garage apartments in our basement. Just play our video games, read our comic, mind our own business. Watch our sports channels. Get our swimsuit illustrated, and mind our own business. We won't even date. We just don't want to be left alone." And that was sexist. And the toucan-haired shrieking harpies came out of nowhere and started attacking them for everything, finding everything they did. You couldn't breathe without it being sexist. Couldn't be left alone. Can't be left alone. The diaspora, the spreading of the Christian church was due to the fact that all the Christians wanted to do was just be left in peace, and they scattered across the globe from the Roman Empire on out. And everywhere we went, they came after us. They can't leave us alone. Just wicked, crazy people. It just drives them, into a berserker rage to think that there is another human being out there that doesn't agree with everything they say, and they will hunt that person down to the end of the earth. The American slogan: we should have stars and stripes my ass. We should have kept the Gadsden flag. We should have kept the Gadsden flag. Don't tread on me. Don't tread on me. That's all we asked. We'll go over here, do our little thing over there. You can have all this stuff. You didn't even take what was ours with us. Fine, you want everything we have? Fine, we're just going to get on our boat with the clothes on our back and come over here and just do our thing all by ourselves. Be all alone, mind our own business. Just don't bother us. Leave us the hell alone, and we're happy. And no matter where we went, they chased us down. And so fine, we said, screw it. We stepped up and we kicked everybody's ass during the Revolutionary War. We stepped up and we had to kick their ass in World War 1812. Then along comes the Franco-American War. We had this, and then we had to deal with World War I. Wasn't even our fight, and they managed to drag us into it. We couldn't leave us the hell alone. And then they bitched about the fact that we showed up late. Oh, well, screw you, doughboys. Go back in your gopher holes and your trenches and finish it out yourself then. But no, we came over there. We sent over our soldiers, and they bled out on foreign soil. Didn't even give us enough, barely gave us enough ground to bury our dead. Then our survivors came home, and damned if it wasn't in 1941, you started all over again. Minding our own business, and doggone if the Japanese didn't come over here starting shit. blowing up Pearl Harbor. And America got up and said, it's fine, you want a war, you got a war. We blew up, and finally, when it was all done, we blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and for a little brief while there, the world went, whoa, maybe we ought to leave this one alone for a little while. Damned if it didn't start up again. Did you know Winston Churchill did not want to leave the Soviets standing? He knew what they were. Hell, he knew what they were in the beginning of the war. In case anybody forgot, we started out the war, the Soviet Union was on the opposite side. They switched sides halfway through. Well, we knew, but Winston Churchill and they knew what the Soviet Union was. It was just as mean and horrible and nasty and evil as the Nazis were. Killed nearly 10 times as many people, too, before it finally ran its course. Stalin alone killed 5 times as many as Hitler ever thought to. No, everybody just wanted to go home. Everybody was tired and wanted to go home. Everybody ended up going home. They left the Soviet Union to go about its merry way, and it devoured tens of millions of its own people. And their satellite countries killed millions of their own. They infested China, and millions more died. We ended up having to fight the Cold War. We had to spend billions of dollars on national defense just to keep them from, they came out there and said, we will bury you. And we had to stand up and say, you'll glow in the dark if you do. And gee, what a surprise, they were willing to negotiate. I have absolutely no idea how much, and the sane people still worry just how much of that evil is still left festering in the world. How many of the old guard of the USSR are running things behind the scenes in Russia? Mm, 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 mm. Mm, mm, mm. You'll have to excuse me again, drifting off. if we ever manage to get a space program going, it's going to be people like us that are going to be on the front edges. We're going to be the ones that are willing to settle on Mars and on the moon and every other desert forsaken, God-forsaken desert dust ball in the solar system, just to get away from these people. That's the one thing about the Star Wars universe. They got backwards. They had the criminal empires out in these dust ball planets like Tatooine or in festering. No, it wouldn't be the real crime lords would be back on Coruscant, on the capital planet, living in mile-high mansions. The people struggling to stay free and to live in peace would be the ones living out on Tatooine. The way it was in Firefly. Core planets tried to rule everything, and the frontier planets just wanted to be left alone. Excuse me again. I could really go for some. I could go for some Monster Energy drink. That's what I could really go for right now. Boost the juice, I'd go for some soda or just about anything really right now. Some Dr. Pepper or maybe some orange juice, or I could go for some milk and cookies. Go for some milk and some box of donuts. Mixed variety. I hate having other people shop for me. I really do. I hate it. Because 9 times out of 10, you describe it. You spell out what it is you want to get, and they get an approximation. They say, I want you to get me a dozen donuts. They have dozen donuts. They have boxes of a dozen donuts over in the bakery in Walmart. They're assorted donuts. They're not all one kind. They're different kinds of donuts in the boxes. The boxes of donuts, the dozen boxes of donuts, are $4.50 a piece. $4.50 a box. Get me a dozen donuts. And they come back, and they got a box of, they got a box of 8 glazed rings. I'm like, no, this was not, and you can't send them back. You can't send them back. I have enough on hand. I have like, let's see, I've got about $4 or $5 in change. I could get a gallon of milk and a box of donuts if I could get to the store. That's what's aggravating. It's angering me. That's why I sort of over-ordered last night. Made that commission, and it was $30, and I spent $26 ordering. Well, what I was doing, I was trying to get the most amount of food, in one order for the least amount of money, so that I would have. And I did actually. I've still got half a pizza left, but I had bonus points and stuff that I could spend on stuff too, so had that, and so I had a couple of pizzas. They had two for $6.99 each, and I got free garlic breadsticks, and I got a one of their monkey bread things, pull apart cinnamon stuff, and a bottle of pop, jug of soda. And I managed to make that stretch out. It was dinner last night, it was lunch today, and it was dinner right now. So, that's what you have to do. Well, you got to do what you got to do. Because the universe just doesn't seem to want to cooperate with you. Ugh. Oh. Angry with myself for so many things. I'm glad I managed to stockpile what I did. I got food. I got sustenance stuff. I got like cans of soup and beans and rice, but it has come to surprise me what it is that I ran out with first. This is something you got to take into account. What are you going to run out of first? And I've got powdered milk, but I've never managed to make that stuff drinkable. Never managed to make it even I got it more for baking than for anything, for cooking. I tried to make pudding with pudding mix and powdered milk once. It was I believe the term is horrifying. No. Hmm. Much to think about. Much to think about. I think one of the things I really need to buy is some storm window plastic. One of the things to do is divide this trailer up. You know, put plastic curtains in the hallways, over the doors, over the over the windows, everything. You know, divide it all up so that I don't have to try and heat the whole darn thing just to stay warm in one little corner. Because they're saying, one of the things they're saying is that there's been almost no sunspots. There's almost no sunspot activity this year, which is going to spell for a very, very cold winter. And yes, there is a reason for that. It involves the solar wind. The sun change in sunspots indicates there is a change in the solar wind. Change in the solar wind changes, among other things, it has effect on precipitation and cloud formation, and it's all connected together. But you have to look at you have to look up some pretty obscure stuff to find out the connection. How it all works together. But lower sunspots means colder weather. So it's one of those interrelated things that just sound like nonsense until you learn the science behind it. It's pretty fascinating. It's also primarily the reason that accounts for what little they've seen in the way of waxing and waning temperatures. They're tied to sunspot activity. The solar wind changes the influx of cosmic radiation. The cosmic radiation changes the formation of clouds. The formation of clouds changes the climate on Earth, and and that's the round and around and around and around and around and around we go. It's just not the heat output of the sun that affects the Earth's climate. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm also cold. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you all for tuning in. I've been chipping away at my other stuff, trying to get some comics done, get some other things done. Get some more chapters for the fan fictions done. I'm seriously thinking of putting a nice big red notice at the top of my stories. Hey, by the way, I have a Patreon and a PayPal button too. Hee hee ho ho, big hint. But I'll try and catch you there. I will try and have at least some new chapters. By the end of next week. I was planning on having some at the end of this week, but didn't pan out. Well, actually, I was planning it the last week at the end of the next week. So I'll try and get something out soon. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you. And I will see you all later. Take care of yourselves. Say a prayer for each other, and good night.